Okay. Well, first of all, I think that the level of access to firearms that we have in this country is absolutely ridiculous. There are more guns in this country than there is in any other country, and that leads to higher levels of gun violence. There is a direct correlation that is completely undeniable.
I obviously believe we have a mass shooting problem in the United States. I am a supporter of the Second Amendment and believe it's a people problem, not a gun problem. I do have guns in my house. They're stored properly and are safe and used mostly for hunting. I guess we need better screening for mental health, and we need to come up with some way to make it harder for the bad guys not to get the guns, right? So I don't know if that always means making it harder for like your average citizen to get a gun. I don't know if that's how it fixes. No, I wouldn't have a problem with it being more difficult to get a gun. It keeps them out of the hands of people who are going to misuse them. I think that's a good thing.
I think the government should definitely start changing things, but as far as preventing gun violence, I don't think that taking away guns is going to change that, because if a criminal is going to go in and shoot up a place, having the government take away the guns isn't going to stop them because they're a criminal. Like, all you're doing is taking away the guns from the law-abiding citizens.
I think that it is absolutely necessary that we have a lot stricter gun control, because children are dying, and if people do not consider that a national emergency, then I think that there is some serious moral flaws. The main point of the Second Amendment, which gives Americans the right to own guns, is to protect against, is so they can form a militia in case the government becomes tyrannical. And it made a lot more sense in 1776 when the only weapons they had were muskets. And now when the government has tanks and assault rifles and hundreds of troops and missiles and all drones, there's really not a point.
Me and my family have multiple guns in our house because we like to hunt, and we also believe in the right to bear arms.
Gun control is a Band-Aid for what's going on. If someone has the urge to kill someone because they think it's the only way, they will find a way to do it. And we aren't caring about the loner in the hallway that we could just say hi to, and it could make the biggest difference.
I think that America has a problem. I mean, if you think about it, most of the school shootings have been done by white men and not people who've crossed the border. The guy who did the shooting a couple days or weeks ago, he's white. But if it were to be somebody of color, they would be treated differently. You know, there's a bias in this, and there has to be a change.
The way it is in our nation right now, people on the terrorist watch list can walk into a store and buy a gun. People with a history of mental illness can walk into a store and buy a gun. I don't agree with that. You know, if you have shown signs of violence in the past, or if there's a reason that the government is specifically watching you, you know, you shouldn't be able to buy a gun. On the other side of that, you know, there's a lot of people are afraid that the government will take away their guns because on some level, their gun is an expression of who they are, and it is an expression of their freedom.
I do think gun control plays into this as well, because I think there should be stricter gun laws, which people will get upset about, but it's either people getting upset or people losing lives.
It's concerning to me that even though there are so many mass shootings and school shootings in recent years and farther back, that there hasn't really been any, on a federal level, legislation. And I was having a conversation earlier about possibly what's the age limit. You know, at 18 years old, that means over 1 million high schoolers in the United States actually have the ability to purchase a weapon such as an AR-15. And that statistic is concerning to me. And many argue that they have a right to possess firearms, or they don't want people taking their guns, and I can understand that, but I don't think that is the goal or the point of people who are in favor of some common sense gun regulation laws, which I think are going to be very important going forward.
But unfortunately, even the FBI couldn't do much, apparently, for the last tragedy that happened, so I feel a lot of despair around that right now. The fact that our own government doesn't do anything about it. It's really infuriating to me.
Should the government take action to prevent gun violence? Absolutely. Yes, the Second Amendment is important. It's important to protect people's rights in this country to own guns and be able to protect themselves, but at the same time, we all have the right to live in this country, and that is more important than an individual's right to have an AK-47.
We need to really think about it. Think about, why are these people using guns? Why do they think they need to kill people? Why? We aren't asking ourselves that question. We're asking the wrong ones, and we need to start thinking about why that kid did it, what pushed him, what could have been done for that innocent kid to not have gone so bad.
I also think, though, that mental health issues are worldwide, and we don't see shootings like this on the same level worldwide. So many people say, like, well, gun control, it's really a mental health issue. And I think that there might be some truth to that, but at the end of the day, when we see this worldwide, we don't see it on the same level, and I do think that is because of gun control laws.
You can't control what's happened in somebody's life. If they've been through a tragedy and they just been traumatized by it or something, or just been messed up by it, there's nothing you can really do. That mental health is a big thing that people say that plays into it, but it's physical as well. How do these people get these guns? How can a 13-year-old kid? I've seen videos of a 13-year-old kid go into a gun show and just buy a gun, and it's been harder for him to go into liquor stores and buy something.
So I think mental health does certainly play a role in these mass shootings, because you would have to be completely mentally unstable if you were going to commit a shooting at all. And I think that it definitely does play a role, but it's not the sole factor. And I think that the government still is not doing anything about this, because earlier the Trump administration actually passed legislation that made it easier for people with mental health disabilities to purchase firearms in the United States.
Great. They blame it on mental health, but at the same time, the people who advocate for better mental health in this country are people that want to pass things like universal health care and Obamacare and also want gun control. And the people on the other side of the issue don't want any of those things, and they don't want universal health care. So they're refusing to take care of any part of the issue, including the mental health perspective, which is just so hypocritical and wrong, and there is no excuse for it.
And I hope that people going forward will both take action themselves and really put the pressure on their representatives and the leadership in this country to take action. It is an epidemic that is affecting many people across the country, and could very well affect us here.
I have heard a lot of interviews for people who've done bad things on the news and things, and they always say that they attack a place because it was poorly defended. So if we did as much as, let's say, training teachers to be skilled with a handgun, and then giving each one of them a concealed carry, not for assault rifles or anything, but just for a handgun, it would probably lower a lot of the attacks on schools, because they would be able to defend themselves, and it would discourage a lot of violence. As far as the numbers, I know people are talking about 17 people died in this. That's horrible, and that should not ever happen. That being said, that doesn't mean that using something besides a gun wouldn't kill as many. I know attacks in Japan and attacks in France that happened recently with knives killed a lot of people. One incident killed 42 people with a knife. So, yes, it's a lot easier to kill more people, but that doesn't always stop people, disappointingly. I think we should have a gun control. They want to have a background check on immigrants, and anybody that comes into the country, they should have a really, really tough background check with gun controls too. So do the same thing. Yeah.
Our country is extremely polarized in this political climate, and for an issue so grave as the lives of children, we need to unite and realize that we're all fighting for the same thing, and we all want safety. No one doesn't want safety for their children, and our conflicts come from the different approaches of how we're going to get this safety, whether that be gun control or putting effort and money into solving mental health issues and having networks for children who are mentally unstable to be able to reach out to. And I think that what needs to happen is a combination of both of these things, and that we need to listen to each other or we're not going to get anywhere on this issue.
I do think that gun control should be a lot stricter. I can sort of on principle understand how certain politicians and senators would accept money from corporations to repeal something like net neutrality, because it has an effect on the people that they legislate, but not like as much as gun control. But accepting money from the NRA to stop gun control legislation from passing is terrible, because it is not just causing some like mild discomfort, it is killing children, and I think that is completely morally flawed.